Okay, so now that's done, let's do a little more housekeeping here. Let's go back into object mode. We can hide this, but I'm looking at my outliner. Now, I look at my outliner a lot while I'm working because it gives you all kinds of information. And you can often spot problems in the outliner that you don't spot here. For example, I see I haven't got these two named properly. This one's selected, which is my blanket, so let me name that. I'll call it blanket, call it duvet, whatever you want. Okay, which this means this one, which is hidden, was a turn down. So let me name that. Turn down. Okay, and I notice these are outside this collection. So a couple of things I can do here. One, I could drag this up into the collection name there, this bed collection, which puts it in the collection. Okay, or the other thing, let's do this with the other one. If I press the M key for move, I can move it into the bed collection. Alright, so now they're all inside the collection. Let me hide these two so we can move on. And the next thing we're going to look at is this mattress. But before we do, I just want to do something to kind of explain why it's important to apply scale, especially when you have scaled something quite significantly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new collection. Okay, and I'm going to hide my original collection. So I've got a blank screen. Let me just bring this over a bit. And I'm going to add a cube. So Shift A, add a cube. The mattress was basically a cube. Now if we go into edit mode, we'll see we've got this standard kind of unwrap we get from mesh that we raise into SL. And what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to add a material to this. So let me come to my materials button. Let's just add a new material. Alright, if I go to shader button, actually let me go to UV editing button. Alright, I'm going to add a new image here. Let me just collapse this tool shelf with the T key. I'm going to add a new image here. So let's add new. I'm not going to have alpha, and I'm going to use the UV grid, the color grid, and press OK. So we got this, we're familiar with this. If we go into shading now, and we can add this texture, image texture, change that to the color grid we just created and put that into the base color. We can see we've got this grid. Right, let's come back into solid. Why am I not seeing my overlays? Because I'm in shading. Right, so let's come back to UV editing. Let me duplicate this along the x-axis, so Shift D, X. And let me scale it down on a Z, just like the matrices, S, Z. So we've got this more mattress shape. Okay, because it's a duplicated object, it'll have the same material and everything else. So let's go back into shading view and have a look, or shading. And let's go into look dev. What you can see here, all these squares from the color grid are the same size. But if we look on the one we scaled, these are very compressed. Okay, so let's go back into UV editing. Let's come back into object mode. The scale on this will be 1 because it's just a standard cube. Scale is 1. Okay. If I look at the scaling on this, this has been compressed to 0.286, about a quarter of the size. So let me apply scale here. Apply all transforms. Once again, if we go back into look dev, it's still compressed. Let me edit it, and if I unwrap it again, nothing has happened. Okay. The reason nothing has happened is because I already had my UV, the UV from the big cube. So what I'm going to need to do is to mark seams and unwrap this again. Right. So to get the exact same unwrap, it might be easier to mark on this object here. It's hard to see with this color grid, so let me not that one. Let me add a new texture just for the sake of explaining this. New image, and let's just have it as blank. Okay, so we see these better. Now if I want to unwrap these seams, what I could do is go to edge select here and just select all these outside edges. If I do this in sync mode, I've got to say that it will select them on the model at the same time. Okay, so they're selected on a model. What I can now do is right click and mark seam. Right, if I unwrap this again, I need to select all, unwrap this again. You see that my grid squares are back to the same scale, the same dimension. So I needed to apply apply all transforms, apply scale, and mark my seams and unwrap. And that's why it's important to apply the scale, because otherwise we can end up with this texture out of scale. I hope that makes sense. Right, okay, let's go back into object mode. And let's delete this. Let's delete this and delete that collection. Let's unhide our bed again. Let's select the mattress. Now I want to work on just the mattress, so I could hide everything else. The other thing I could do is press a / on my keyboard. / will just work on the object that's selected. If we go into edit mode and look at this, we have got an unwrap, but it's a bad unwrap. Okay, we can see some overlapping stuff in here. We've changed this with bevels and stuff. It's really come out quite badly. So what I need to do is unwrap this again. But before I do anything, I want to apply the scale. Control A, and I'll actually apply all transformations. Right. So let's work on getting this unwrapped. Let me unsync this. Let's see what we've got going on here. We can treat it much like a cube. All very similar. So we've got a top, a bottom, and 4 sides. So let us mark around the top. Let's do this in vertex. I often find it easier to kind of see what's going on. So we'll select this edge loop all the way around. Right click. No, we need to be in edge mode. Right click and mark as a seam. We can do the same with the bottom. We can select an edge here. Alt select another edge in the same direction. Alt select. So that's selected all the way around. Right click and mark as seam. Alright, now if we look at this, if we select all and unwrap with the U key, you can see we've got our 2 bed sides. Something a little funky going on, and we got this perimeter which isn't looking great. Alright, so I'm going to make this a bit better. What I can do is select this center edge here. Shift select this center edge in each of the corners. Right click and mark as a seam. Alright, select all again and unwrap again. We've now got this better unwrap going. Okay, not quite sure why this is kind of going angular, but we can probably fix this anyway. Let's press A. Let's open our tool shelf again and use UV squares and snap. Well, that didn't work too well, did it? To grid by shape, didn't work. To square grid, didn't work. Okay, UV squares doesn't help us out in this. Maybe if I select one island, the bad island, and try the snap. No, it doesn't work. Alright. Forgetting UV squares, what can we do? Well, this seems to be similar in height. Let us come to vertex select. Let's just select this corner here. G on the y-axis, just square it up. Simple enough. We could probably square this up too. GX. So that's looking a lot better. Okay. Supposing I was to add a material to this, instead of adding, I will just use that material I used before. And we can see by doing that, our texture is scaled correctly, it's not distorted, this isn't all compressed. Even though we started with a cube, it's now all the same size. Okay, I'm going to remove that material from there, which I can't do in edit mode, I need to do it in object mode. Let's remove that material from there so we're back to where we were. And I can press my / again to see all the rest of my bed. Alright, so that's the mattress done. We can hide that, and then we're just left with the frame and posts and stuff. So we'll come back to that in the next vid.